friends, in this video we are going to discuss in detail that what is the concept of digital library and how you can establish the digital library using the DSpace. Especially DSpace we have taken in this for this workshop. So we are going to discuss in detail that what is the DSpace, what is the concept of digital library, and what is the basic requirement in order to install the DSpace. So I'll be giving you the brief detail about the DSpace and the digital library and the installation part at the last, and then we'll see how we can install in the next video the DSpace. So thanks, let us start now. Hello friends, welcome to this video about open source institutional repository software, that is DSpace. We are going to talk many things about open source institutional repository software, features, how to establish, different requirements, and many more in this video. The outline of this video is the introduction of digital library, what can be the features of digital library or any institutional repository, what are the available open source software for establishing institutional repository or digital library. Since there are many software available in the market, so why only DSpace? What is or what can be the architecture and what can be the requirement to set up institutional repository? What is DSpace? And then different hardware and software requirement and what institute library can do using DSpace. So we are going to talk in this video about all these one by one. In my opinion, a digital library is a collection of digital objects which includes text, visual materials, audio material, video material stored as an electronic media format. Nowadays we are using computer, and I think most of the job is done with the help of computer. So whatever we do, we produce the output in the digital format. Let us say if we are using in Word, so we produce the output in Word file, the same way Excel, the PowerPoint or PDF file. Sometimes we create the video, develop the video, or sometimes we develop the audio. So all these are the digital objects. So in my opinion, the digital library is a collection of digital objects which includes all these. Now the question is that what should be the features of any digital library or institutional repository? As we know that any librarian or any library professional or any professional cannot proceed to set up any digital library or institutional repository unless or until that a professional or library professional is sure that cost, technical installation, whether it is durable, whether it is can be made open, can be kept closed, flexibility, user friendly, multi-user environment, and moreover what are the software and hardware requirement for establishing or setting the digital library. So these should, in my view, the different features of digital library are mentioned here. First, the cost must be low for both hardware and software, because sometimes if you are going for the costly hardware, costly software, so your administration may not support and say no, we cannot establish this digital library because it involves huge cost. The technical installation must be very easy and simple. It should be very durable, robust. When we talk about robust, means we are talking mainly about the RDBMS, the data where it is going to be saved, that should be strong enough to support for a long time, and the retrieval also of the document should be very quick. so that the user, when they use, they should not feel irritating. The digital library should also have the feature of open and close both. Whenever you need, you can declare the document open in your repository, and whenever you feel that no, I don't want this document to publish, or your submitter, the author, doesn't want that the item should be displayed publicly, so it should have feature to maintain the privacy also. Modular, it should be very flexible in use. Different features must enable the software or digital library in order to use flexibly. Then it should be very user friendly. When we talk about user friendly, means who are the user of means DSpace, or I'm not talking about DSpace now, we'll talk later in this digital library. The main, there are two kind of users. One is the staff who is submitting also and who is retrieving the data also, and the another one is that is the end user, like the students or faculty or research scholars. So they use your repository document or submitted document in order to get the different details of their topic. So it should be very user friendly. It should be very, it should have the feature of multi-user, including both searching and maintenance. If at a time 5 staff want to work on the system, it should be in such a way that the 5 staff can work. At the same time, if more than 10 users they want to retrieve the document at the same time, it should enable the users to retrieve the document. Multimedia digital object enabled. All the formats nowadays, most of the formats of the digital library are produced in video format, audio format, or the digital object like some computer files. Most of the file we receive in this software through application software which is developed using the computer. So the digital library must have the multimedia digital object enabled. It should be very platform independent, both client and server. There should be less dependency in order to run the digital library, and it should be interoperable. It should allow you to exchange the information. It should allow to exchange and use the information by other users. So these are the features of digital library. Before anyone proceed for setting the digital library, should keep in mind all these points. Some of the famous open source digital library, or you can say institutional repository software, are DSpace, ePrints, Greenstone, Fedora, Omeka. These are very popular and internationally accepted by most of the library, corporate sector, and universities, colleges, institutions, private organizations, in order to organize their documents. And means DSpace, ePrints, Greenstone, Fedora, Omeka, all these have gained international recognition in order to use and with their simple and effective features. So we are going to talk here that what is DSpace. Mainly we are going to talk about only one software, that is the DSpace. Some of the people, they say that DSpace is the digital object management system. Why? Because it creates the opportunity, or it creates the community collection, allows to add the item to the collection, it allows to search the item, it allows to retrieve the digital item submitted to the DSpace. It facilitates preservation of digital object for a long time, and one of the most important aspect of DSpace is that it is open source. Source code is available. If you want to modify the source code of this software, you can do it if you have knowledge of the language which is used in order to develop the DSpace. It allows open access and digital archiving. Whenever we submit the document and flow the flow the document in the repository. It goes to the end user and it allows to archive the digital content. It allows building institutional repositories of any kind. So as per Wikipedia, DSpace is an open source repository software package typically used for creating open access repository for scholarly and or published digital content. So this is about the DSpace. Now the question is, why only DSpace and not other software? Why only DSpace? DSpace only because it's an open source technology platform which can be customized. Lot of customization can be done. Its capabilities can be extended if you think that beyond the whatever the capacity the DSpace is having. If you have knowledge, if you are capable to extend the capability, you can also extend the capability of DSpace. A service model for open access or digital archiving, a platform to build an institutional repository and the collection are searchable and retrievable on the web very quickly, and to make available institution based scholarly material in digital format. So these are some regions which have gained, which are available in DSpace, and DSpace has gained international recognition and acceptance also by most of the libraries, most of the institutions due to its simple and robust technology. So actually the DSpace is a joint project of MIT libraries and HP Labs, Hewlett Packard Labs, which was first released in November 2002. Now let us understand the architecture of DSpace. How does it organize the content? So basically it organizes the content in three layers. It works in three layers: the storage layer, the business layer, and the application layer, and each layer function in different way. The storage layer is mainly responsible for physical storage of metadata and content. The business layer is mainly responsible for managing the content of the archive, users of the archive, that is the e-people, authorization, and the workflow. All these we will be discussing later. And the business layer is the most important part. The application layer mainly responsible for the components that communicate with the network world outside of the individual DSpace installation. So this is the architecture of DSpace, which is used to organize the content in three ways. Now these are the requirement for setting the digital library with DSpace. A good working system with Linux operating system, preferably CentOS or Ubuntu. Many times it is the question that whether DSpace can be installed on Windows also or not. Yes, it can be installed on Windows also, but most of the people they prefer Linux because Linux has more security features than any other operating system. Then it requires Java development kit. Then Apache Web Server Tomcat, which helps to run the repository and allows to access over internet or intranet. The RDBMS PostgreSQL, this is also open source. Then Apache Ant and Maven, and DSpace open source institutional repository software. So these are the requirement of DSpace. And when we talk about the hardware, it can be run on any kind of server, whether it is desktop or the rack server or tower server, but we have to ensure what is our requirement, because you do not have the large content to store, and if you are going for the hardware which requires huge involvement of huge cost, so in that case that is not required. You can go with the minimum hardware which can support your DSpace or institutional repository. And these are the types the DSpace can accommodate: article, thesis, preprint, book chapters, postprint, clippings, maps, technical reports, images, conference papers, audio video collection, and many more. And this is the information model, you can say data model also, how it works. The top most, the in architecture, the first comes the community, which can also have the sub community inside community, then collection, and then item. An item includes three things: the bit stream, metadata, and license, that we'll be talking about this later. Now the most important part is the copyright. Whatever the document is submitted to the institutional repository being maintained with the help of DSpace. So how does it work? A license during submission for an item, this is important, you have to decide. The grant DSpace non-exclusive right to acquire, manage, preserve, distribute the item. Does not grant DSpace copyright. Whatever the document is submitted, DSpace does not grant any copyright issue. And copy of license is stored with item. As we all know that any document which is submitted to the institutional repository, so it is the responsibility of the author or the original creator who has submitted the document to library or to the institutional repository. DSpace is not the responsible for any copyright issue. These are the international standards which is followed in DSpace, that is the Dublin core descriptive metadata, and it also supports Unicode and metadata harvesting protocol, OAI-PMH, Open Access Initiative metadata harvesting protocol. Now these are the capabilities of DSpace. It can export in XML format. It supports crosswalk through metadata harvesting, Dublin core, qualified Dublin core, METS, that is the metadata encoding and transmission standard, modes, metadata object description schema, and it can also be extended to any metadata schema. These are the things which can be customized in DSpace. We can customize the layout of DSpace. We can change the email setting for sending the email to the user. It can be customized to get the interface in any language. The metadata field can also be customized. It can customize the input form. The display of result also can be customized the way you want. You can customize it, and how it should index the field, it can also be done. And the more over the very important feature, that is the restriction of the access. If you want to put restriction on any item which should not be displayed to the end user, so it can be embargoed in DSpace. Okay, so these are the advanced features like LDAP authentication, single sign-on, we call it as a single sign-on also, which allows to use the same. If you are in a big organization, you will be provided one email ID or one particular ID which you can use in DSpace by enabling the LDAP authentication, and the same user ID password you can use in DSpace. It uses statistics generation also. You can generate different kind of statistics in order to know the use of your institutional repository. The RSS, really simple syndication with the help of feed, you can develop the Android application to fetch the information of your repository, and also you can use the feed in any RSS reader to get the information, and you can remain updated with the latest update in your repository. It allows to recommend an item to friend, and it allows full text indexing of the digital object like PDF, MS Word files. And these are the prerequisite software. If you are going for Linux or Windows both, you need Java standard development kit, Apache Maven, Apache Ant, Apache Tomcat, PostgreSQL, that is your RDBMS, and DSpace, that is the software. So these 6 software you need to have before you proceed for installation or setting your institutional repository. So in other video I have already explained how to install all these, and this is the internal architecture. It works in 3 levels. The first one is the community, where we create the top level community. Like one example I would like to give here. For example, I am working in any college or any university which has multi department, and I have multi subject. So how I am going to organize the collection? I will give the top level community as my central university of ABCD, whatever it is. Then I can create the sub community with the name of department. For example, physics, chemistry, like that, the department name. And inside the sub community, I can create the collection name, like in physics, PhD, MTech, or MSc, BSc. So you might be able to get me that I'm just defining the structure. It can go in this way also, like you just create the top level community in different way. You can give your organization name, and directly you can give your collection name, like you are going to maintain the articles, you are going to maintain the conference proceeding, you are going to maintain the newspaper clippings. So all these can be your collection, and each collection you have to add the item. So we will see how when we do the practical, and you can understand with the help of DSpace data model. The top level is the community, then comes collection, and then comes item. And item is the combination of 3 things: metadata, bitstream, and license. Bitstream is basically your file with the format. So these 3 things combine and make the item. This is the database model. In community has 2 collection, and collects both the collection has item. Let us say another example. As I said, one community can have multiple sub community, and in each sub community there can be one or more than one collection. Here one thing is very important, that one community can have further sub community, and sub community again further can have sub community. But remember, collection cannot have the sub collection. In every community or sub community we add collection, but in collection we cannot add sub collection. So this is very important, and this is the item, metadata, bitstream, and license. These are the 2 things which we require. The first one is the users. Every individual who may have role in the system, whoever is the part of the DSpace or your institutional repository, may have some role. The groups, this is important when we authorize the group of people for managing any collection, community, or item. So we'll see how we can do this in DSpace. And this is the workflow step. Unfinished submission means you are here. When you submit the document to DSpace, it goes in the first step, and if it is rejected, it will again go back to unfinished submission. But if it is selected, means everything is okay, then it goes to the step 2, and here the metadata, whoever is the taking responsibility in order to see the metadata part will see, and if everything is okay, will go to the next level, else it will be rejected and again it goes to the unfinished submission. But if it is accepted, it will go again to the step 3, and here also the another metadata editor who will look into the metadata another part and accept it, and when it is accepted, it will go to the DSpace institutional repository and it will be available for end users. So this is the workflow to submit the document in DSpace, and this is the metadata: descriptive metadata, qualified Dublin core, limited expansion to other format also available. And what metadata does, it allows to submit the form, can be customized in configuration file also. It allows to edit metadata, it allows to add metadata, it allows to create new metadata field, and also item template. DSpace allows to withdraw or permanently delete the submitted item, but there is a slight difference in both. When we withdraw the item, it removes item from view, but it will remain in the database and will not be shown to users in search result and can be recovered again. But when we go for permanently delete, that is the expunge option, it cannot be recovered, and the handle ID is also not reused, can only be done by repository administrator. Everyone cannot do this. And here is the authorization at 4 level. Very important point. The first one is the bit stream. If we authorize the bit stream, it can open the file, that is the read permission. It can alter the file, write permission. But if it is in case of item, so it allows to read, write, add. All these three can be done. If it is collection, then it can be added, it can be removed item from the collection. Default item read, new item receive this read attribute. Default bitstream read, new bitstreams receive this read authorization. And collection underscore admin can edit or withdraw item or map item into the collection. And the last one is the community, add or remove, can add or remove collection from the community. So this is the authorization part, we'll see practically when we do it. So thanks for watching this video. I hope I have been able to make you understand the concept of DSpace, the concept of institutional repository, and also many more in this video. Let's see in the next video how we can do practically, how we can establish institutional repository. So this video is also will be available at YouTube channel Librarian Guide. You can browse the YouTube and you can see next time later also this on YouTube channel. So thanks for watching this video. Once again, let's see more in the next video.